And welcome back. As classrooms close for a summer break, some students are diving into learning in a whole new way, where math meets music, physics meets roller skates. Now, one groundbreaking program is shaking up the traditional approach to STEM education by kind of like blending it with creativity, movement, and also some culture. Joining me now and sharing more is the founder and CEO of Daley Smith STEM, Joanna Smith. And good to have you, Joanna.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Daren.
Thank you. This is like a unique integration.
It is.
Right.
It is exactly that.
But at the same time, it also helps students, if you will, get into STEM in a unique kind of way.
Yeah.
So explain a little bit.
Sure. So when I was 4, my amazing parents actually started me off by playing piano. And so I have a cute little prop here.
It's a piano and a purse. We're talking about that.
Yeah.
So this is really a purse.
It is really a purse, okay? But I don't want you to miss the point here is that even though it's a purse, so power to the woman in engineering as well.
Right.
But the music portion, especially playing the piano, was something that got me onto the role of getting into engineering. And I saw music more as like a mathematical equation, like the time signatures, like 1, 2, 3, 4 is a fraction, right? It's a unit of time, kind of like feet or meters, but we're looking at it as we're counting. Not only that, but if you know anything about physics, an A on the piano, the middle A is actually 440 hertz, right? And as you go up an octave, which is about 8 more notes up, then it becomes 880 hertz. So it's moving as the pitch, the numbers are moving as the pitch is moving as well in the same type of sync. And so, you know, that was kind of my intro into STEM and math. And that is how I got into engineering, actually, through music.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, you just took me through a whole course because I swear I went to school, I've been to higher education. I didn't know all that. But for somebody who walks in the door,
Yeah.
an opportunity to really connect the dots, right?
Yeah.
And then and at the same time connect the dots in a way that is, you know, I'll say, I've been using the word unique, right? But at the same time, we're also getting them to a place where this, I'll say this area isn't always highly popular and publicized, but yet and still you're taking them into an uncommon area in a common kind of way.
Right, and I love that you said that because music and math are both universal languages. And sometimes we look at the math portion and it seems a little scary, if you will, but music is always that space where everyone can come together, get to know each other, and then also get into a space that may not be, I guess, as comfortable. Even though we deal with numbers every day, right? That's how we live. That's how we understand and like really are able to thrive in society. And so the music portion for me was very liberating. I remember I had an internship in Wiesbaden, Germany, and we were working with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and we went to the house of General Kip Ward. He was a 4-star general, and everybody was so nervous because we were interns, and it was more of like, okay, how do we all get on the same level so we don't feel like he's here and we're here, and like, why are we, you know, in Germany with him? And he had this piano. It was right by the dinner table, and I said, can I play? And I remember I played Total Praise. And that took everybody to this level of equilibrium, you know, and we were there on an engineering internship, right? And so just to see, you know, that very interesting dance between music and math happen again, you know, in another country, and kind of like the marrying of both of those worlds in universal languages is amazing.
How does it play out for students who are actually a part of this workshop? What's a typical day like?
So a typical day looks like students will come in. We will actually, I usually have my students get drumsticks, and we'll go through the counts for each note. So usually a whole note, a half note, a quarter note, you know. And so once they go through that, they're tapping 1, 2, 3 for their holding. And so they remember the notes, right? And then in the music and math book, the sticker book that I created, it's this equation. So it's like the quarter note, which gets 1 note, plus a triangle, right, which is the missing note or number, equals, let's say, a whole note, which gets 4 counts. So you have 1 plus what equals 4. And we know it's 3, but then they have to fill that in with an actual note, right? And so even though it seems like it's a lot, it's basic once you start to understand how it works. So once they continue to get into that flow, then they can transfer that to playing the piano or playing any instrument, really. And I think that's really a space of empowerment and confidence for them.
In this, you have STEM.
Yeah.
You've got this component, but then also you've got financial literacy.
We do have financial literacy.
So how do you navigate all of this, and how do you navigate this in the student's life to a place where they walk away, they've got the STEM, but then at the same time they also have financial literacy, but you think financial literacy is utterly important, and then I'm going to ask you to answer that question as to why.
Okay, of course. So in the financial literacy portion, we definitely speak to how to look at, we start with how students make money, right? And when I think about that, we think about entrepreneurship, we think about their 9 to 5s, and then we also consider, I always like to throw in the house, right? So, hey, what about getting a house? How much do you think that costs? How much are you gonna make, during the year? Or how much are you looking to make? What do you think your field of study is going to allot you in terms of a cap, right? So we're looking at 9 to 5, we're looking at entrepreneurship. And when students start to think like that at a young age, they start to recognize some of the pieces that they need to put in place. So like reverse engineering. And I'm talking about students at like 5, 6. Like, I want to be a doctor. I want to make $100,000. So they start thinking in that way. And so why is that important? It's important because students get a head start. When we think about the approach to the program, it's really exposure. So our goal is to expose students to science, tech, engineering, and math in these unconventional or unique ways, right? So that's just a little bit as to how we work both of all the pieces together. It's really a holistic approach to students and their capacity to be confident.
So when I think about science, technology, engineering, and math, it wasn't at the forefront of the mind for a lot of students growing up, right? And we know that you almost have to say, people are like, oh my God, I'm not good at math, I'm not good at engineering, kind of scares me. But you've definitely done a great job in terms of bridging the gap.
Thank
and
you.
When you look at education as a whole right now, talk about the importance of science, technology, engineering, and math is where we're going in the future.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about AI, we're talking about
It's here now.
other things that are here right now, right? I mean, it's present, but it's also future.
Yeah.
So for students, I mean, where was the game changer for you in life?
I would say in 8th grade. So
Okay.
in 8th grade, I saw something green sticking out from some asphalt on the road. And then I saw the sign that said men working on the road. Now, mind you, I must give you a background. My mother is a doctor of nursing practice. She was a nurse at the time. And then my dad was into finance, like life insurance and policies. And I remember my sister and I would have to sit in my dad's office outside of the cubicles, and he would give me math problems to do. Like, I was like in 1st grade, okay? And that was my life. And so just fast forwarding to seeing the opening in the road, I went online and typed in men working on the road. Civil engineering popped up, and I knew that was my calling. And I said to myself, this sign is going to say women working on the road. And so, it was etched in my mind. I had already made the decision. So I knew that I was going to be an engineer without equivocation.
You're doing a great job. I'm telling you right now. I'm learning right now. Just sitting on this is called on-the-job training, as we call it, right?
And that's okay. That's what we're doing.
Cool, right? It's okay to get on-the-job training. But listen, you got a couple things which I'm going to call on the umbrella. Talk to me about the umbrella and how the umbrella fits in all of this.
Right. So this is our umbrella. Okay, it's like the mini umbrella. But the whole point is just looking at the umbrella as a structure. And usually, before we open the umbrella for anything, we don't necessarily think about, the actual shape of the umbrella. Like, why didn't they make it a square? Right. It's kind of this circular type of structure with some other pieces that are supporting it. And then, of course, the one and only, hopefully when it doesn't break, but the piece that keeps it intact, right? Mm-hmm. And so the question was, how does the structure work? Would it be able to work on Mars? Is there a certain wind force that would allow it to collapse? Or why don't the umbrellas collapse based on the rain and the downpour? And so we look into the umbrella as a structure from an engineering standpoint and also just from an ergonomic standpoint as to how this works, okay? So that's one thing about the umbrella. And there's more into it in terms of like X and Y and Z and stuff, but it's just something for students to think about as they take it apart, as they put it together. And that's one thing I think that's really amazing. We're not afraid to take things apart. We're not afraid to put things back together. And so instead of always thinking numbers and plus and multiplying things, it's more of like, how do we make this work and use hands-on training in order to understand the engineering of something.
What's that feeling like, seeing the light go off in students who are like, oh my God,
you know, because
yeah.
It is amazing. And I think that is one thing that really had me say, this is something I need to do. Because I recognized that when the lights went off for me, even if it was like, oh wow, I got to play a sheet of music and I understand like what I need to do. I understood what it felt like to be able to solve, a problem algebraically and say, oh wow, this makes sense. So I think for me, even, as an engineer, people say, oh, you're so smart, but it really took me a lot of time and practice in order to understand that thing. My music teacher would tell my mom, she's like, she takes a long time to get it, but when she gets it,
right.
And so because of that, I have this empathy for students that it may take a little bit longer for them to get it. The parents of my students always say, you're so patient. And I'm like, yeah, because I know what that felt like to see everybody, quickly get something. And I had to be like taking my time over and over to understand this thing. But the whole point is resilience. And I was talking to someone here earlier, resilience, not giving up, believing in yourself. And that's why this program means so much, because once you understand how things work, once you're able to build it, once you're able to code it, once you're able to, create your own roller skates, which is a structure from scratch, and then get to roller skate, right?
Right.
So the fitness portion of it, you walk away so much more confident than a student that might just know how to code and that's it. You can speak well, you can articulate, and you can be a leader, whether you want to be up front or if you want to lead from behind.
So for a person out there saying, listen, I want to be a part of this, how do they go about that?
Sure. So our website is DaleySmithSTEM.org, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's Daley. And a little bit about that story, that's my mother's maiden name. Okay. And Smith is my surname. I grew up with my parents, of course, but it was the power that I was able to see in both of them, and how they felt that education was so important. We went to a school out in Katona, and when I went to that school and saw students with horses on their land and the doors, the gates that would just open up like this, and I said, so what does your mom do? And they said, well, my mom owns all the gyms in Bedford Hills. I said, so they're not going to Manhattan to slave and come back on that train for 3 hours? Right. And I think that light bulb, really helped me to see, wow, entrepreneurship, even at that young age, was a seed that was planted for me. And it was also a space where I realized there had to be a level of confidence that you had about yourself. Mm-hmm. And so when we think about being a part of something like this, you can go ahead and check us out at DaleySmithSTEM.org. And you will see all the information. We have the STEM program. We have field trips that we do. We actually are going to do an iFly field trip where you fly in that, it's the simulated skydiving. So
right.
I skydive, I'm a scuba diver, all the things, right?
Oh, you're just the adventurous,
right. And so when we talk about facing our fears, that's really where I want students to be. I want them, to be able to believe in their talent, in their skill set, and really the purpose that God has put them on this earth for, and then they can move forward and do the things that they need to do without being nervous, live their best life.
So what word of advice before we go do you have for somebody who's dealing with that whole fear thing? Because I think when people see science, technology, engineering, math, those are things that like immediately overwhelm. Like I was the greatest student in math. Somebody says, oh, well, that's not going to be for me because math isn't my thing. What do you say to them?
I would say take it from where you are. I was watching something on Oprah the other day, and the young woman who was talking about finances and training, she said, just start by saving a quarter for 30 days. And then she said, go ahead and save 50 cents for 30 days. And, sometimes we come in and we say, well, I need to save $1,000 for 30 days. But just a quarter. So it's really not even the perspective of I need to know how to do this, but let's stay consistent first, right? So if it's that you need to do addition problems for 30 days and you need to do multiplication problems for 30 days, let's do that. And then you can think about having a mentor or seeking out people who have done it. And you need to understand how you learn and how you like to be taught, right?
Yeah.
And so once you understand those particular building blocks, you can do more than amazing things.
I want to tell you, it's been great.
Thank you.
Sitting here talking to
you,
you,
Dad.
learning a little bit more. I feel like I went to school today. I got a lesson, I got an interview, I got all of that.
I
Just
love
like
that.
I appreciate you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We got to bring you back and talk a little bit more about what is going on in this world, because it's a lot to unpack, and it's a world that's ever changing. But you bridge the gaps very well.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Daren.
much for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, listen, now if you want more information, visit the website, DaleySmithStem.org. Encourage you, don't go anywhere. Guess what? We do have more open coming up right after this.